We don't kill the living. Shut up.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Back again with another review for The Walking Dead. This is for this past Sunday's episode. I apologize for getting this out late once again. I just, busy work, the life. So we'll get right into this. The episode is entitled Monsters. Deep in the woods, Ezekiel rallies and motivates his troops, over 36 strong, for the upcoming assault on the nearby Savior outpost. Carol notes that the Saviors most likely have the advantage of superior numbers, but agrees with Ezekiel that the kingdom have strategy on their side. Ezekiel is confident that they will stick to the plan. They will not lose a single person. Over the radio, Saviors organize their forces. Later, Ezekiel leads a small number of his regiment through the woods, where they soon hear survivors whistling. They are quickly confronted by a group of around 20 Saviors who hold them at gunpoint. Carol emerges from the long grass with the rest of the kingdom and shoot the Saviors from behind, while Ezekiel's group drop to their knees and open fire as well, killing them all and sustaining no casualties. Meanwhile, at the office outpost, Rick is held at gunpoint by Morales, who orders him to disarm. Realizing that he is the Rick from Alexandria the Saviors have been told about, he calls Rick a monster and reveals that Negan has ordered Rick, the widow, and the king to be kept alive if possible. He questions Rick's motives and angrily tells him that the Saviors will settle the score. Outside, the battle rages on as the Saviors take more casualties. They receive Morales' order to return inside to do so immediately, killing the two men Rick and Daryl took with them. Aaron helps a gravely injured Eric away from the fight and leans him up against a tree. The bullet went straight through his abdomen. Aaron regrets encouraging him to join the fight, but Eric disagrees. He tells a distraught Aaron to get back in the fight, which he reluctantly does. Elsewhere, the Hilltop and Alexandrian forces that attack the satellite outpost are escorting around 30 captured, shackled Saviors along a road by armed guard. Jared annoys Morgan by whistling loudly. Jesus remarks that they aren't far from the Hilltop, but Morgan is still angry with the decision to spare the lives of the Saviors. Jesus insists it was the right thing to do, despite telling him that no matter what they've done, they're still people. He firmly says that they don't execute people. Morgan retorts that he has in fact done so in the past. Back at the office outpost, Rick inquires of Morales' family, and he reveals that they died on the way to Birmingham not long after they left the rest of the group. Morales refuses to accept Rick's sympathy, even when he reveals some of the many people that he has lost too. Rick recounts Glenn's horrific death at the hands of Negan and how he met Maggie in the apocalypse, much to Morales' surprise. Morales tells him that he lost his mind after his family died, and that on his way north he was found by the Saviors, giving him a sense of purpose since they saw value in him. Thus he declares himself to be Negan too, and tells Rick that they are the same, two assholes ready to do whatever is necessary to survive. He taunts Rick when he tries to reason with him, asserting that Officer Friendly dies too. Just then, Daryl arrives behind Morales and fires a bolt through his face, and as he turns around, despite Rick's protest, Daryl asks if he found the guns, and Rick replies in the negative. As they prepare to leave, the surviving Saviors from outside attack. On the road, Jared continues to annoy Morgan, eventually mocking Benjamin's death. As Morgan snaps him and holds him at gunpoint, a number of walkers roll down a nearby hill towards the convoy, and chaos erupts. Two Saviors are killed, and as the militia members are preoccupied with the threat, a group of 10 Saviors led by Jared make a break for it, running off into the woods. Morgan gives chase, firing at them as they flee. When he catches up to them, he kills the one that caused them to slow down, and is the only stop from executing the rest of them by Jesus. Diane and 3 other militia members escort the Saviors back to the road while Jesus is trying to reason with Morgan, who insists that the Saviors will not and cannot change. He begins to mentally break down, ranting about how things never change. He insists that the militia have to be killed, just like the Saviors, in order to survive. They have to be killers, just like the Saviors, in order to survive. Jesus says that after the war, is won, they will have to find a way to live with these people. But Morgan refuses to listen. He attacks Jesus, who dodges his attack and kicks him back. Morgan forms up with his Aikido and attacks again. Ezekiel reminds his troops that the saviors they just took out were only one garrison from a compound of 3. Later, they stealthily take out 3 guards stationed at a building occupied by saviors before entering and killing the inhabitants. The first 3 locations that make up the outpost. Shortly thereafter, they ambush a second group of around 40 saviors, killing them all. In the office outpost, Rick and Daryl are pinned down in a hallway by 6 saviors. Morgan and Jesus continue to fight. Jesus tries to get through to him, but Morgan is unresponsive and continues his attack to Jesus' confusion. He's able to avoid Morgan's strikes with his stick and takes advantage of the openings he leaves to wear him down. Still, Morgan refuses to stop. He scores a hit on Jesus' stomach, severely wounding him, and another on his arm. But Jesus blocks the 3rd hit and kicks Morgan away. As he goes in for another kick, Morgan maneuvers back out of his reach and takes his standing leg out beneath him. He tries in vain to score several lethal hits as Jesus dodges and gets to his feet, knocking an increasingly erratic Morgan to the ground. He uses trees as cover to evade most of Morgan's strikes, but is eventually apprehended and knocked to the floor. He manages to get to his feet and disarm Morgan, knocking him away with another kick. When he returns the stick to Morgan, Morgan holds it to his throat. As Tara and Diane arrive, Morgan finally snaps out of his trance in a state of confusion, realizing what he has done. He tells Jesus that he isn't right, but that doesn't make him wrong either. He concludes that and he can't be a part of the war, and he leaves on his own. Meanwhile, Rick and Daryl are on the cusp of running out of ammo. Rick shoots a fire extinguisher, creating cover to take out the saviors at close range as Aaron and the militia arrive with supporting fire, killing the remaining saviors. At the hilltop, Enid is on guard duty when she spots Gregory arriving in the car he took from Gabriel at the sanctuary. He pleads to be let back in. Maggie meets him at the gate and asks him what he's doing back at this colony after what he did. Gregory lies about finding the car empty and arrogantly tells her that he built this hilltop long before Maggie arrived. Maggie furiously tells him to shut up and stop pretending he didn't try to sell the community out to Negan. He protests that he was trying to save lives, but Maggie tells the people are fighting for a better life. She calls him a coward and reveals that Cal told them that Gregory wanted to warn Negan of the militia's intentions to fight. Cal overhears Gregory insulting him and gives him the middle finger. Maggie makes to leave Gregory on his own outside the walls, but changes her mind when he desperately pleads for mercy, saying that he was scared and unsure if they could win in a fight against the saviors. He apologizes and makes a scene. After listening to his pathetic cries, she lets him in, telling Enid that he isn't worth killing. Just then, Jesus' group arrives with the captured saviors. Gregory immediately insists that they can't stay, but Maggie sends him away while she talks to Jesus. Tara says she agrees that they shouldn't be allowed to stay, and Maggie knows that with families and children at the hilltop, the arrangements would be too dangerous. Jesus insists they can't kill those who surrendered, and makes a plan to keep them under armed guard in 2 empty trailers. The battle at the office outpost is over. It is a victory for the militia. Numerous reanimated saviors are put down. Rick takes Polaroid photographs of the carnage. Wounded militia soldiers are transported away in a pickup truck, and the dead are prepared for burial. Aaron returns to where he left Eric, but finds him gone. In the distance, he sees a reanimated corpse of his boyfriend, shambling towards an oncoming herd. He breaks down in fits of sobs and is escorted away by Scott. Rick retrieves Gracie from the building, the baby, and Aaron volunteers to take her to the hilltop since he planned to go there with Eric after the battle to inform Maggie. Give her an update. Rick and Daryl prepare to part ways, with Rick intending to go talk to the scavengers alone. They take fire from a lone savior, Todd, hiding behind a tree. Rick negotiates his surrender by promising his safety if he tells them where the missing heavy guns are. He gives the man his word. Todd, injured from the battle, cautiously emerges and tells them that the M2 Browning 50 caliber machine guns were moved to Gavin's outpost to the west the day before. Daryl shoots him dead, much to Rick's shock. He remarks that Ezekiel's forces are at Gavin's outpost. Then Daniel reports to Ezekiel that they sustained no casualties in the assault. He is delighted with the news and informs Carol, who remains cautious and tells him they need to sweep the compound to be sure there are no survivors. He agrees and lets Carol take point, while his men begin putting down the Saviors as they start to reanimate. Ezekiel tells Daniel that it was them or the Saviors. He notices a window in one of the buildings and realizes they are being watched. He yells for his troops to scatter as a 50 caliber machine gun begins firing to rain down upon them. His closest advisors swiftly knock him to the ground, shielding him from the hail of bullets as we fade to black. All right, guys, that was the quick little rundown review of Season 8, Episode 3, entitled Monsters. Another action-packed episode. Like I said, we've pretty much all three at the beginning of the season have just been nonstop, shooting and, fighting at the outpost and whatnot. So can't wait to see what happens next, see what happens with Ezekiel's men. Yeah, appreciate y'all checking this out as always. Like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe, and I'll see y'all on the next review. Y'all be good.
Welcome to Lindbergh.
Pushing my pants yet?